We had so many people asking where could they donate in his memory, and we just said the Humane Society because these cats were important to him. The first one he adopted, he called him Cathew, and he was like big 25-pound Tom cat. And then he adopted a small little female, Patches, and then just a few weeks before he adopted Miss Buttons. He used to go and he used to be like, I'm gonna go to the cat shelter, and we'd be like, don't get another cat, and he would be like, guess what, I got a cat.
Hi, friends. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday, May 16th, and I just saw something that was a synopsis for what's happening this week on Sister Wives. In the last 3 weeks, I've found it very odd that TLC has not put out new, like, episode teasers, and at the end of the episodes, there haven't been coming up on Sister Wives. And I find that odd because they've done this every single episode from the start of Sister Wives until now. And maybe it's due to the sensitivity of the topic, maybe it's to not trigger the family. I don't know. But this upcoming episode, they released like this very limited clip on the TLC's Facebook page. And it's basically the kids that are in Wyoming, like Janelle and all of the kids with Christine and Mary, they get a house. It's like an Airbnb, and they all stay together and they're there together in Wyoming. And then they meet up with Kody and Robin and the kids, and you don't see them all together in the same screen at all. But that's sort of like what it's about. Like they're going to Wyoming to lay him to rest. But this will be the final episode of season 20 of season 19. It's the 25th episode, and there will be four tell-alls after this, which almost feels like unnecessary at this point. I don't know that going backwards and like arguing about the fighting between the family even seems relevant at this point, but I digress. The synopsis for this episode, I found it on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was just the family has gathered in Wyoming to honor Garrison and lay him to rest in the family plot next to his grandparents. Kody digs a grave for his son's ashes, and the family says their goodbyes. I don't know anything about this cemetery. I don't know if Penrose is a public cemetery. I did look at the memorials on a website called graves.com, and it doesn't appear like it's simply for the Browns. It there's other people that appear unrelated, different last names all over the place, not specifically like a small family type cemetery. It's in outside of Powell in Bighorn. It doesn't really even have an address. I couldn't even find a website. I don't know anything about this cemetery. I do know that I have had family members pass away, and I've never had a single family member dig a grave. I've also never had a single family member dig a grave and profit off of it on television. And I don't know, you guys, I don't know if I could watch an episode of Kody digging a grave for a urn that they're going to place in the ground next to his grandparents, Win and Cheryl, right? They have like a family plot where they've purchased a bunch of different plots together so people of the family can get buried there, which is not uncommon. And Janelle did say that she purchased a plot right next to Garrison so that when she passes away, she can be placed next to Garrison. I've also I've never heard, I mean, I guess some people do. I've really never heard of a lot of people burying urns. I've heard of people using internment little things where they place a urn in a sort of tomb in a building that's like decorative at a cemetery. So it's like a small little cubby type compartment, and it's not actually in the ground. So if you've gone through that, bear with me, I just haven't. I haven't I've yet to go through a funeral with my own family members where they've been cremated. I have nothing against cremation, by the way. So I feel like kind of sick thinking about Kody on a show that has caused so much pain for this family. And on a show that this week we find out from Gwendolyn. I mean, we already knew this, but the kids weren't paid. Most of the kids that are going to be shown in this episode are not being paid for their time. They're there. I mean, I guess they're getting a vacation out of it, but it's not even really a vacation. They're staying in Wyoming in a Airbnb together, which they could be doing every year anyway. So it's not like they're going someplace they wouldn't go anyway. You know what I mean? They might be getting their lodging paid for maybe, but it's just so weird to think like, so this article drops from Teen Vogue. Gwendolyn basically says, we never made money off the show. The producers have jumped us and sort of ambushed us and asked us questions that we don't necessarily want to answer. Our hardest moments are often made for television when it's really not what most of us want. And because this was being done the way it was being done, and because Kody wanted to be all about him, I mean, I would assume that the kids in this situation don't really have a choice about whether or not they're going to participate, because if they don't participate, it'll be represented in a way that they don't believe to be true for Garrison. So maybe they're there for that point. But I honestly don't need to see Kody digging a grave. I don't need to see anyone digging a grave. Kody, I think why my stomach dropped is because Kody dug a grave for a dog and put the dog in the ground in the backyard at their house in Lehigh. And that's what I'm thinking about. Like, so we're going to turn this episode into like when he buried the dog. It just made me feel sick. You can pay for people to dig out the plot for you so that you don't have to do it. It truthfully feels like another performative way for Kody to show his undying love for a child that he didn't care about that was when he was alive. And I just keep thinking like if Garrison was able to see this, what would he think of this? His last text messages were about his frustration with this show, his anger at the production, telling them how he felt about it. You've got Gwendolyn this week, talking about the exploitation of it, the lack of money, and the fact that all of their drama has become public and there is no privacy for the adult children, even if they're on the show or not, because anything that affects Kody can become a storyline. And that's a dangerous place for anyone that knows Kody. Because if you don't want to be on a show and you don't want your name mentioned on a show, even if you're related to him, you could end up on the show. You could be a topic of a conversation and a fight on a show where you're not going to be represented because Kody wants to talk about it and make it into a storyline. No one is safe with Kody or Robin because they're going to turn anything into a possibility for ratings. The only part of all of this that I've really found, honestly, what Garrison would have loved was when Janelle went to the Humane Society and found out about the room that they have in Flagstaff, the cat adoption room for its High Country Humane. And they raised over $25,000 because people donated to them. I know last year when this was going on, the proceeds of the videos I made at the time, a large chunk of it I donated to High Country Humane and then the other shelter in Flagstaff as well. And it felt like the right thing to do at the time. And so it was actually touching to see how that all played out, like how it impacted so many other cats and families. Like they were able to donate, they were able to waive adoption fees, and 25 or 35 cats got placed in a single month, and people didn't have to have have to overcome the cost of being able to take the cat home because the donations that were made covered it.
This is our cat adoption room, which we did name in Garrison's name, and we have a plaque to commemorate that. Yes, all three came from High Country Humane. I hope the plaque shares how grateful we are for the donations. Since his passing, $25,000 have been raised for High Country Humane for the cats.
And then cats that needed care, received care because of that money. And don't and his legacy will be honored there with that room remaining, a room dedicated to Garrison. And all 3 of his cats came from that exact same humane society. That was to me like, that's how you honor him. I guess if you have to have it on the show, at least talk about something that was important to him. He loved his cats. He they were like his kids to him. He had a soft spot for, animals that have been abandoned and are discarded. He was a proponent for rescuing, which is that rescuing animals is not easy. I have a couple rescue dogs and they have a lot of special needs. And so when you talk about taking on cats and dogs from shelters, you're taking on their trauma from where they came from. And that can take time to get over for the cats and dogs, and some of them don't. But with patience and love, some of them can really come around and they find their forever happy home, forever home. And that's what he was willing to give to those animals. And that's the kind of person he was. And so I feel like when she went there and did that, that I felt was respectful, because we're not talking about his death in a way where we're needing to show that we're putting him in the ground. When we laid my mother-in-law to rest and we went to the cemetery, I can't fathom anyone having ever been there. I can't imagine cameras being there. I can't imagine it being fodder for television or for the internet. I can't imagine the final moments before you lay your loved one to rest being a part of a television show, because those final moments are literally the most heartbreaking for a family. I mean, when they place the casket or the urn in the ground, and then they have you place your flowers or whatever it is you have. We all put roses on top of hers, and then some people will put dirt on top of the casket as sort of a like, we're going to start this, and so the family members can do that. And that's so personal. It feels sacred. It doesn't feel like it's something you would exploit for television. And I certainly don't need to see Kody Brown digging a grave for a son that he doesn't care about outside of the DNA that he donated to make that baby happen, and the fake storyline he's creating to try to rehab his image. He couldn't be there for his son in life, but he can show up and dig a grave for a show? Who does that? I don't know if I'll be able to watch this episode. I'm going to have to think about it. But I wanted to share with you, and I feel like this is like such an unforgivable moment to me. Like, it's such a betrayal to Garrison, quite honestly. I actually I'm frustrated that Kody has this much control still over the women, that they have to go along with this, because I can't imagine all of the women were okay with this. I just don't know how they would be. And if they are okay with this, that makes me like start to question all of the adults in the situation about the exploitation of this moment for television. You can talk about his death, you can use it to open up conversations about mental health and mental illness and suicide, and you can use this as a way to educate and help people learn about the warning signs, which, to be clear, has not happened yet on the show whatsoever. But a positive impact could be made in that it could help other people understand what they missed, and what the warning signs are, and what the red flags are, and what resources are available for people that do need help. It could literally save a life. But digging a grave is just so triggering. And it just so reminds me of when he put the dog in the ground. And I just felt ill. So to me, it's an unforgivable moment. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.